Welcome to LU Life Church. This is your global spiritual community portal. I'm your host today, the Reverend Dr Dawnecia Palmer. If you're a regular visitor, thank you. If this is your first time visiting with us, a warm welcome to you as well. So here at LU Life Church, we believe all life matters, that you matter. Welcome. Today, our title, Learning to Lean Safely. Before that, as is usual, I ask us to pause so that we can take a deep, grateful breath for being alive today, for being in this moment, just to be grateful for our lives. Let us do that together. As we take a deep breath, we're going to hold it to the count of 4, if you can, with a sense of deep gratitude. That just causes us to reset our whole being in that moment of being just grateful for life. Let's do that together. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Take a deep breath in, hold, feel the gratitude, and exhale. Okay, maybe you weren't ready for that. Let's do that together again. 1, 2, 3. In, feel, and release. Ah, wonderful. Learning to lean. Well, we have all leaned at some point, whether it's physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually. We've been leaning nearly all our lives, right? So to lean on somebody, that's the main thing that we think about when we think about leaning. Leaning on somebody or leaning on something. And the main reason we lean is for support, right? So let's look at it first. To lean on somebody, what does that actually mean? That would be talking about us depending on somebody. We could be dependent on somebody for something emotional, even for practical means or for financial support. Normally, we're leaning on somebody or something because we're in some difficulty, where we need help. And so we're relying on either a person or a thing for help. Majority of the time, it's for support and encouragement. Sometimes we can also lean as if to apply pressure. Yes, and that type of leaning is really hard. When we have those people leaning on us, pay up. Very, very intimidating. It can also be a way of pressuring, and bullying is one of the ways of leaning. Looking at the word leaning. However, today in right here at LU Life Church, we're looking on leaning and learning to do that safely. Now, if you look straight on your screen, you might see someone brought these pictures for reasons. So that guy is like leaning on a banister, look like a staircase at the top of the stairs. You have that banister. Now, if that banister had been broken, but the person didn't know, it look as if it's high up, so it's on top of the steps, right at the top. And if you or I were leaning on that, we would break our fall, we would be in trouble, we'd hurt ourselves, break a bone, break somewhere, even, in the case we could even die, depends how high that building is. So it's important that we lean safely. Now, in we heard at the beginning, that's very just a clip of the song of Bill Withers' song that says, "Lean on me when you're not strong." When you're not strong, what's your leaning point? Who do you lean on? Where do you lean? And for how long? These are very important. It's things we just do automatically. When we are in trouble, we lean. And so today, we're looking at how we can safely lean in terms of getting that emotional support you need, the practical, physical help you need, and when there is, oh my God, such harsh coercion, such pressure is being put upon us. Leaning. We know generally what leaning is. To depend on, to go deeper, relying on, you're counting on, you're turning to, yeah, turning to. So, or in a negative sense, that pressure, that coercion that we talked about just now. And so, who can we turn to? There is a song in the spiritual world, or I should say, in the Christian world, and we talked about, leaning on the everlasting arms, and I've been singing that since I was a child, leaning on the everlasting arms, and it is great, isn't it? But we have learned from such a young age to lean on the arm. So we don't really even think about the face. We definitely don't think about the heart when we're thinking about when we're in trouble and we're just leaning. Our whole thing is about what we can get on the arm, leaning on the everlasting arms, we cannot fail and so on. But whose arm? And so sometimes we might even talk about whose arm to talk about the arm, but not about the person, not about the life. And so today, really, I'm trying to bring us to who and what is our safety net. What is that area of safety that we can depend on, that we can rely on, that we can turn to, that we can count on when there is pressure, when there is that negative, when the leaning comes in a negative context that we have to go to. Where should we go? What should we do? We think about leaning, and it's, a relationship makes the leaning becomes even more important. We think about a case. When I was looking this up, I think it showed a case where it said the sister was leaning on, the person was leaning on her sister when she was moving house. So it shows there straight away the relationship, why she was able to lean on her sister during the time of her move. It was because there was a relationship, yeah? She could trust her as her sister, she could trust. So she was able to lean on her for for whatever emotional need, physical need that she wanted. Because, of course, moving things, you're going to need a hand, a helping hand. What if that sister was not available? What if your friend wasn't available? And so on. Because, most times with all good intention, sometimes we are just not available to be even the one that can be leaned on. And so today, this comes to talk about that eternal post, that eternal space, that eternal person, that eternal one that we can trust, that we can lean on, that we can rely on, that we can depend on. Is there a scripture for that? Yes. Proverbs chapter 3, 5 to 6. The wisest person that it was recorded ever lived on this earth, Solomon, King Solomon. And he wrote this. He said, trust in the Lord, or lean on the Lord. Another word for leaning is trust. So learning to trust safely, but who can we really trust? Even the person that is our best, best ever, best as ever friend, that our life is limited in our bodies, right? So that person could pass at any time, or various things could be happening with a person at any time. And when we need them, they're not there. Not because they don't want to, but because of various situation and circumstances. But where is that one place then? Who is that one that, come what may, at any given time in our life, day or night, we can turn to? Who is that we can trust, that say yes, yes, for a definite? The King Solomon, who knows so well, said, trust in the Lord with all your heart. No, no, didn't it say with part of your heart? Sometimes. No, 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 no. It says, trust in the Lord, the great law of the universe, with all your heart. But it also is a two-part to this. A lot of people says, quote the first bit, but there is two parts to this verse. 3, 5, and 6. It said, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. Meaning, just don't go by what's in your mind. It's with your heart. So we've got to trust with our heart. And it's so hard, isn't it? We don't want our heart getting broken. Today, so many people are heartbroken because they've trusted and that trust has been let down. But there is one that we can trust. We're now talking about the spiritual leaning. How, what can we do when we have a spiritual reliance on God, on life? I'm talking about life itself, not just life like, oh, we talk about life is brief. And I think that's the problem when people think about life. They say life is short, life is brief, or life is hard, or life is unfair. I've heard this said so many times. But do you know that life you call God, the source, the all energy of everything, okay? Source, the creator, that which was before anything, even before creation, that which is, just is, the isness of all. Yeah, life, we call it life. When you say life, you know what happens? You're not able then to say, oh, my God, or your God, or my religion, or your religion, or my race, or your race, my culture, your culture, male, female. No, life covers everything. Yes, everything, because life never dies. Life does not differentiate. Life is everywhere, in everything, at all times. And that life, when we trust life, how do I do that? Where is life that I might go and find it and trust? It's right there within you. On your very breath is the life of God, living you, breathing you. Trust in that which you cannot see. Feel into that which is the eternal and trust. Place your trust there, that when difficulties come, the first thing we want to do is to go to something that we can touch, that something we can see tangible. But in the knowing, in the awareness that there is a presence, oh my God, that you can lean into. There's a presence that you can lean into. Come what may, whatever the situation, you can turn, you can trust in that presence. Why not pause right now, right where you are in your space? There's a presence around you, presence of love, the presence of peace. You might say, oh my God, I don't feel peaceful right now. I don't feel love right now. There's a presence. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. It's right. It's just right. There's a presence around you. It's all healthy. It's healing. It's wellness. There's a presence around you. There is peace. It is peaceful. You might be listening to this in a war torn country. Right now, there might be a bomb going off, but within all of that, there is peace, an invisible presence. And we can lean into that invisible presence. What we call LIFE in capital letter is presence. And we can lean into that. Is there another scripture? Yes, there's another scripture. It talks about, again, in Isaiah, the book of Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah was a prophet. It talks about, it's one of the Old Testament prophets. In verse 10, it's chapter 10 and verse 20, it mentions the time when it says the remnant of Israel will truly lean on the Lord. They had to lean on the creator of all things. The Holy One, they call it the Holy One of Israel. They had to trust and truly lean on, rather than on those that oppress them. Is there so much things oppressing our lives today? So many laws, so many bylaws, so many infringement on our rights, on our privacy. We can't trust into that anymore. Governments are always changing. Propagandas, media, so many things are changing. Even relationships are changing. So where can we go for that stability? Second Chronicles 13 and verse 18 records that the men of Judah actually won. They prevailed because they leaned, because they relied on the great law of the universe that we call the Lord. They leaned on God. They leaned on that life, on that presence. Oh yes, when the armies was coming against the armies, yeah, was coming against the children of Israel. You know what they did? They turned to God. And so let's go beyond just the name of countries and let's look at this. When the enemy comes in, what could be the enemy? It could be drought. It could be lack of finance. It could be health problems. It could be broken relationship. It could be a loss. And so we call these things enmity because they've come to take away the joy. They've come to take away the peace. So when I talk about enmity, I'm not talking about an enemy just in war situation. We are at war all the time, but we can live in peace by our awareness of the peacemaker in our midst. That presence, invisible presence, the strength that is there all the time for us to lean on. And when we lean on that, it's not going to fail us. It's not going to break. It's not going to go away. Presence is always around. It's just for us to be aware and to trust and to lean and to turn to and to rely on and to count on. I know in the New Testament, there brings even a physical description of leaning in John 13 and 23. It mentions a literal act of leaning when the disciple leaned back against Jesus' chest while they were having a meal. And so that's a physical leaning. You've got to be really close to somebody to be leaning on their chest. But that was given an example of how, here was somebody that went around doing all these miracles, but yet there was this person was able to lean back on him or on her. So it goes beyond the physical. And yes, we too can be ones that people can turn to. Are you a reliable person? Have you got the capacity for someone to trust, to rely on you, to count on you? But if you yourself is not trusting on the invisible presence within your life, think about it. What we are calling people to trust us when we ourselves are not turning to the source of our breath, of our life, because we ourselves are turning to somebody else that is not turning to the peacemaker within themselves. And so this type of distrust goes on, but we can come into a place of trust today, right now, by acknowledging the presence of the Almighty. We say Almighty, and some people just say Almighty and not really counting what it means. It means all powerful, almighty, almighty. It's not just a figure of a person, not just a hand. We talk about the everlasting arms as if it's just a hand. No, it's the life. Even if it was a hand, it's the life inside the hand. So today, this message is really very short. Yes, and it's all over the place, but what it is trying to bring us to that particular place of trust that we can lean. Whatever you're going to go through this week, believe me, you're going to go through something this week that this message is going to not, we don't want it to be like a band-aid, just cover up that little wound. We want it to come and do the healing work. So this is the medicine. Hallelujah. This is the cure for whatever will come after today in the future, for your relationship, for your finance, for your health. Yes, for decisions that you need to make, for circumstances and situation of difficulties, of trial that lies ahead. Know that there is a place of safety that you can come to lean. And so today we need to learn to trust. And lastly, I'm going to bring Song of Solomon's. Again, Song of Songs or Songs of Solomon, back from the book of Solomon. It mentions that the beloved lean on their beloved. Who do you love? Be loved. Yes, we love a person. That's good. That's good to love someone. That's good to be loved by someone. But to know the love of life, to know the loving presence that's all around you. Listen, that is the greatest thing a human being could really and truly ever experience is to realize the loving presence, the invisible loving presence that is always there. Oh my goodness, whether it's dark or whether it's light. When you're going in a dark path, You know that the presence, the loving presence is with you. The light of the loving presence is always around you. Lastly, and not least, I did say lastly, didn't I? We talk about leaning with all your might, depending on the presence with all your mind. Lean not on your understanding, but lean with all your might. I mean, that is something really amazing. The Hebrew term implies that the leaning that we're talking about, invisible leaning, symbolizes resting all your weight. I don't know what your weight is today. You know, maybe your weight is being overweight. Maybe your weight is how am I going to patch up this relationship? Maybe the weight is how am I going to manage my children? Maybe it's how am I managing my parents? You know, there is so much. How am I going to deal with this new law? How am I going to deal with my loss? And so I come to a close. I said it wasn't going to be very long today. Talk about trusting, talk about leaning, depending on knowing. There is knowing that at any time we can turn and the invisible presence is there. The invisible presence is there. You don't have to go into the church to know the presence. You don't have to go into the mosque to know the presence. You don't have to go into the chapel to know the presence. You don't have to go into an organization to know the presence. You don't even have to go into a chapel to know the presence. You don't have to go into a shop to know the presence. You don't have to be in your house to know the presence. You don't have to be in the field, yet you can be in all of these places. You can be in all of these places because the presence of the Almighty is everywhere at every time. Now, I cannot stipulate this enough. The presence, the great invisible presence, is everywhere at any given time, in any given situation. We have names for that. We call it omnipresence, always present, omniscient, always knowing, omnipotent, almighty, everywhere, all the time. Now, how do we access that? How do we make this a reality? Is up to you and me. It is about our awareness. And as the song says right at the beginning, lean on me when you are not strong. But also, this segment comes to emphasize something even more than that. It's to lean on the presence, everlasting presence called life, called God. Lean on that presence at all times. So not just when you're, lean on me when you're not strong, but lean on me when you're strong. Lean on me when you are strong. That presence. Go from just leaning on the arm, because the arm of flesh will fail us. The things that leaning on physical things. Yes, sometimes we might need, we're tired and we might lean. So I shared this in the live segment yesterday. We had a live segment. It was really wonderful. We really sensed the presence of the Almighty there with us. And I share that this coming week, perhaps we just automatically, if you're at a bus stop, just start leaning. Only you know what you're doing. Or just sometime in your house, wherever, or even just standing, just lean to one side. Just lean to one side. Just flick your body, flick your head to one side. A reminder to yourself. Yeah, a reminder of these words, of these verses, of these scriptures. If you forget the scriptures, you can replay this short video and write the scriptures down and read them for yourself, so that you can be reminded of scriptures that talks about leaning. I quoted Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. I quoted Isaiah 10 and verse 20. I quoted 2 Chronicles 13 and 18. I quoted John 13 and 23. And I quoted Songs of Solomon 8 and 5. And there are other scriptures. But you can begin today to know that there is an invisible presence called life itself not just the breath, but the life on the breath. It's always there. It's always there. You look at your children today. Yes, their body is growing, but the life in them is the same potency. From they was a child right till the day they pass from this body, that life never dies. It's there all the time. The life is there all the time, and we can always, in our time of trouble, in our time of need, turn to the presence. In our time of joy, turn to the presence. It's always there for you. God bless you for listening today. Why not pass this on to somebody else that might be going through some problems. Sometimes we might say, oh, well, turn that off. I'm not interested. Well, somebody else might. Yeah. What is one person's passed down might be somebody uprising. Okay. Rising up. That might be something that lifting them up. Yeah. Sometimes we go to the second-hand shop. We call it the second-hand shop or the second time around, and that person have given away those garments because they no longer want it. Somebody buys it and it becomes their new. Oh, look at my new fashion. In the same way, use these segments like that. You never know what somebody is going through. Maybe they're just not knowing where to turn to. They haven't got anyone to turn to, you know. But if they could just realize that right in their midst, there is that invisible presence, and that invisible presence is the well of wellness, is the well of supply, is the well of wisdom, is the well of love. Right there in that holy presence is all that you need today, and you can lean there safely. Never will let you down. You've been listening to Reverend Dr Dawnecia Palmer here at LU Life Church. This is your global spiritual portal. Leave us a thumbs up. Let us know you are here. Leave us your comment. If you have your own personal requests that you would like us prior to pray for, you can also get in touch with us at lulifechurch@gmail.com. Leave us a donation. Thank you. To donate, there's a link in the description box below, a PayPal link, or you can go directly to PayPal website and making your love gift out to lulifechurch@gmail.com. Thank you for listening today. Remember, lean